So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's go ahead and do a speed test comparison between the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the iPad Pro 11. We're gonna go ahead and begin with a boot up test in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, I am using the M4 iPad Pro 11. I didn't upgrade to the M5. I didn't see the need at this point. Doesn't really do much more for me. And also, we haven't seen how well an iPhone can stack up to an iPad in a while, because the M series chips I always thought were going to come to the Pro iPhones, but they haven't yet. And you'll see, maybe they're just not necessary on the iPhone, but the iPad Pro actually turned on quite a bit faster there than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So the aim of this video is to figure out, is your iPhone in your pocket as powerful as an iPad in terms of just kind of like everyday use in this speed test comparison. So first up, the victory goes to the iPad Pro 11. Now, both of these products do have Face ID. Now, the iPhone's is housed within the dynamic island, and it's going to be used probably quite a bit on that phone. On the iPad Pro, you do have it housed right there, and it'll also be used quite a bit. It is in the landscape orientation where the Face ID does sit. And one of the things about the iPad Pro is that it can actually interrupt your speed if you're holding it like this. Face ID will say camera covered, and then you're essentially going to be a little bit delayed. So I have found myself sometimes missing a bit more on the iPad, and for that reason, I do think it's a slightly faster experience while the sensor is basically the same. When we're talking about speed, I do feel like I am missing a little bit more on the iPad just because of the location of it. You're never really going to be like this, covering your camera on the iPhone. So a little bit speedier there for iPhone experience. Now, swiping through here in terms of iOS, you can see very smooth, nice polish with the liquid glass. Overall, bounces through things, looks really nice and modern. You can customize a little bit, change out the icons a bit. iPadOS 26 as well is also kind of similar. I do think that transition into the app library looks a little bit different though from the iPhone, and to me sometimes it looks a little bit slower. I kind of get right in there on the iPhone, whereas on the iPad you can see a little bit of a bouncing, and initially the iPadOS to me was a little bit more buggy than even the iPhone experience. So this year I hope their main focus for 27 on iOS and iPadOS is mostly going to be down to fixing like polish, performance bugs. That's what I really would love to see this year. I think it's a much needed update. And both these products are running the iOS 26.3, iPadOS 26.3, iOS 26.3. You can see the clock speed of the A19 Pro is 4.26 gigahertz, and this does have 12 gigs of RAM. Now, I am using the base model of the iPad Pro 11 here, and this does have a M4 4.41 gigahertz and 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you do go with the M5, you should be getting 12 gigabytes of RAM, just like the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So do keep that in mind. That might play into our RAM management section. Let's get on to the app test now. All right, so let's go ahead and close out Geekbench 6. You can see everything is now closed out. We're gonna go to calendar, and you can see, I think a little faster on the iPhone. The animation looked a little bit more quicker on the iPhone over there. We'll go into stopwatch timers, and this app I don't really use much on the iPad, but I put it in this test. Let's go into calculator, which was nice that we finally have a calculator on the iPad, but you can see the actual animation look is kind of pretty much the same. It really does feel like you're using a bigger iPhone on the iPad and a smaller iPad on the iPhone. Let's go into weather here. You can see a little bit faster there for the iPhone. I think that is because we are going to be loading up like bigger overall, text and a little bit more content on the screen over there. So let's go into ChatGPT, and that was faster by a smidge on the iPhone. Let's go into Gemini. Pretty much the same, not a big difference. Let's go into Copilot, and you can see, I think a hair to the iPhone, probably not much though. You can see Groupon launches at exactly the same time. We'll skip this, and you'll see we kind of got in there at exactly the same time. So even with more content being displayed, the M4 is giving you the same type of experience here. Now in gaming, the iPhone launching that very nicely, so I do like seeing that. Let me go ahead and lower this down a bit. And the iPad got a little bit chopped up there. I don't know what that was. Let's go ahead and get up out of there. We'll go into Dead Trigger 2 and we'll see what happens here. iPhone does launch first there. And the iPad taking a little bit of time there. So we'll just let that run. And we're in there on the iPhone. So not sure what happened there. We had a crash on that application for iPad. Let's go ahead and just launch it one more time to see if it will go in this time. So that just shows you what I was talking about earlier, that some things, they just happen to crash sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't show it on video, but I'm kind of glad we've seen it there. It can happen. And even though you have all this power here with an M4, you know, that stuff is still possible on either iPhone or the iPad. Let's go into RTS, but this is not common. That was pretty rare. I don't see that very often, actually. That was a little bit of a rare experience there. And we'll hit play on both. And essentially just comes down to, do you want to pay less and get an iPad but no cellular and not as much portability, but get all this space and maybe just get a cheaper phone? Or do you want to put it all your money into a iPhone, or just have both? Let me know how you feel about that. And I think that's why the foldable experience, when Apple brings a foldable later this year, most likely is going to be a game changer, because not everybody wants to carry around two devices. And finally, with an upcoming Apple foldable, we will be able to squash this two device thing and put it in one, hopefully. But we'll see if they bring iPad OS on the interior. That's kind of like what I want on the inside of an Apple foldable. And let's go ahead and turn off the auto rotate. I forgot to do that, so I'm continuously rotating the iPad. It's kind of annoying. So let's go ahead and get into Call of Duty and see which one to get her first. I will tell you, I kind of like gaming on the iPhone a little bit more, unless I have a controller for the iPad, because it's a little bit wide on the iPad, and the iPad got in first. We might be having the same account thing where it won't let me launch into one. Yeah, we're doing that. So whichever one kind of wins there is definitely the one that got there first. Let's go into Destiny Rising, especially for those apps that don't let you sign in two devices at the same time. You'll see that Destiny Rising launching first here. Now, I don't prefer the size of the iPhone screen. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying that I rather play the iPad with a controller, because the screen is big and it's not like the most ideal for like using it with your hands to play the game, unless it's like just a flick game like Subway Surfers or something where you just flick your finger and something like that. But something like these more console level, these are better on the iPhone for portable holding. And then over here, and that was first on the iPhone because it didn't let me launch over there, but it's better to use the iPhone for portable gaming, and I think the iPad for gaming with a remote. So yeah, so that's how I feel about that. You'll see over there on the left, the iPhone has taken this one by a little bit. And so it looks like the iPhone seems to launch these games a little bit faster. Let's go into Google News here on both products, and we'll go ahead and swipe over to technology. And as we go into technology, you can see basically the same launch. Weirdly enough, this application not showing way more content than even the iPhone based on the layout. We'll go into 3D Mark, but most applications do. We'll go into Geekbench 6 and we'll go into Speedtest.net. And you can see in this video, the iPad Pro M4 is still giving the same performance essentially for real world daily as anything else out there. Like the M5, yeah, a little bit better for AI, 12 gigs of RAM, but honestly, most people ain't gonna be able to tell any difference. You've seen in this video. So you can cop yourself a used iPad Pro for an excellent value right now. But in terms of the app test, the iPhone, I think, took it in terms of animations were a little bit quicker, and also the gamings were a little bit quicker. But the iPad will shine when it comes to when you really push that CPU in like a render, or like maybe extended gaming has more area for the heat to disperse, although that's pretty good as well. But the iPad OS feels a little bit slower than iOS, I feel like. All right, so let's go through RAM management here now, and you could see launching beautifully as expected. For iOS here, we'll go into Destiny Rising, we'll go into Call of Duty. How about Free Fire and RTS? We'll launch over here into Dead Trigger 2 and Subway Surfers, Groupon, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, Weather, App Store. Let's sing a song. No, I'm just messing with you. Calculator, clock, calendar, trying to just go through it, you know. Let's go into the iPad Pro 11 and kind of see what happens here. Are we going to get any issues here with this 8 gigabytes of RAM? That's what I'm concerned about. And that's not an issue. That's just kind of how it rotates when you go back out of a landscape application. And it definitely takes a little bit more time because iPad tends to want to stay in landscape. How do you use your iPad? I mostly use it in landscape almost all the time. So I probably should just be launching this in landscape. Subway Surfers with a reload. Groupon reloading. So that 12 gigs of RAM is making a slight difference. So let's go into Gemini. So that 12 gigs of RAM is making a slight difference here on the product. So if you do want yourself just a little bit more of a heavier use device, the M5 might be up your alley, but this is already still a heavy use beast as well. It's just, if you want slightly more RAM management, I think the iPhone took that, as well as maybe the M5 iPad Pro. Let's get on to the benchmarks now. So in a shocking turn of events, the iPhone has actually beat the iPad Pro in the single core. Now, again, this is M4, M5, likely better than this, but where it still doesn't win is in multi-core, regardless if it has more RAM. CPU-wise, that doesn't seem to matter. GPU-wise, iPad Pro ahead at 13,730. Well, it was only like 100 points less on single, so not really anything to speak of much. So iPad Pro M4 is still faster than current iPhone in multi-core score. Let's see how it does in the Wildlife Extreme test. This one is going to be testing more of the graphics, and I think the iPad is going to massively beat the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But let's see what happens. We'll be back when they're done running these tests. Okay, so let's see if the iPad pulls in the same, or if not better, on the download. And so far, not quite. The iPhone seeming to pull in a bit better. However, I do have to state I haven't really had any substantial issues with iPad's Wi-Fi performance. It's been blazing fast ever since I got it on launch day, nearly 2 years ago here in a couple of months. So it's been absolutely superb. But the iPhone seeming to have a little bit faster Wi-Fi performance over there. I wonder how the M5 would stack up here. Probably a little bit better, but not probably substantial. You'll see the iPad has lost in that test. So wrapping it up, these are kind of a mixed match here because this is the M4 versus M5, but iPhone 17 Pro Max, slower in GPU and when you really push it performance, it's going to be good on both, but 17 Pro Max is a single core beast, daily use, daily portable usage beast. It can still play games, it can edit videos, it can do all those things, and it doesn't get too toasty under that type of load. Incredible battery life and also really decent Wi-Fi speeds, good Geekbench scores and really good 3D Mark scores. iPad Pro seems to really pull ahead when it comes to its gaming. It's going to be really good in its GPU scores, and I think for those of you transferring and editing videos, you'll see some substantial boosts there. And anything GPU intensive, iPad Pro, but for single core, iPhone won that. So let me know your thoughts on these two down below, and if you like these iPhone versus iPad comparisons, or maybe even Samsung versus a Galaxy Tab comparison, stuff like that, I like to mix it up once in a while. Kind of gets boring doing the same phone versus phone, so I throw these tablet comparisons in occasionally. Let me know if you enjoy them down below. We'll consider doing more down the line. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Be sure to be well, and peace.